Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today I'm excited to take a look at OpenMandriva Lx 5.0 Roam. And this is a technical preview of OpenMandriva. The current stable release of OpenMandriva is OpenMandriva 4.3 Lx. So this one is the technical preview, and this will give us a nice sneak peek as to what's to come. And I believe this is using the Cooker repository, so we got like all the latest and greatest stuff available, and it really looks like an interesting and exciting preview to look at. So as usual, I couldn't resist the temptation, and I grabbed this baby so we can get into it. And so OpenMandriva Lx, in case you're not familiar, is a KDE-based distro. And it's a fork of Mandriva Linux, which Mandriva, I think, was like a fork of Mandrake, if I remember right. Anyways, the stable version came out last February, and so now we have the LX5 technical preview, and this looks like something that is really going to be interesting because it also features the new Plasma 5.25, and the new Plasma, of course, has a lot of great features in it as well. So I'm really excited to see OpenMandriva and the new Plasma together, the combination of all the cutting-edge stuff combined with stability, and the Plasma 5.25 is just an irresistible prospect. So I'm going to jump in here right now and take a look at it. So let's just jump into the live preview right now and see what we got. So here we are, and I'm just going to boot right in here and see what this is. So here's the live ISO, and we'll just boot in. And I think this will be a quick install because if I remember right, they're using the Calamares installer with this, which is really great. And here we have our nice welcome screen, and then the icons up here, and then there's our installer. So I'm just going to click that, and let's just take a look at it. And yes, it is the Calamares, nice. And so here it's showing OpenMandriva Lx 4.9 nickel installer, but this is actually the 5 technical preview, so the label hasn't caught up yet. I'm going to switch my time zone over here to New York, and then let's go to next. And so that's all good with our default. And then here I'll just select erase disk. This ought to be a really simple, straightforward install. So I just kind of went here just to show you how simplified it is, being the Calamares. So there's our username, and then I'm just typing a password here. Then I'm going to use the same password for the administrator account. That's typically what I choose. Oops, put a character in there. There we go. And then I'm just going to hit next. And there we go. That's all there is to it. Hit the install now, and we're off. So this shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing here, and it'll only take a few minutes. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'll be back right when it's done. Okay, we're all done. That's great. So now that we got that done, I'm just going to close this, and then I'm just going to shut down, take out the ISO, and then start it back up, and we'll see how it works out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. We're in our boot screen, and so far so good. I'm just going to hit enter here, and if everything went okay, then we'll see a login screen any second now. And now we're in the login screen. Gonna log in here, boot in, and there's our OpenMandriva logo, so it's looking good here. And by the way, the install didn't take that long at all, about maybe 5 minutes or so. So nice, smooth, flawless install. Here's our welcome screen. That's looking great. So I'm just gonna right click here, select configure display settings, and I'm just gonna boost up our display here to 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to just choose that right there and hit apply, and we'll keep that, and we'll just drag this welcome screen down here to the middle. All right, so here we are. Here's our environment, and this is looking great already, and here's our Plasma menu here. And so it looks like these defaults are already installed, which is good. And so here we have our default programs. So we have our tabs up here on our welcome screen, and under features we got all kinds of good stuff. We have our main menu, and I'm just going to open up my console real quick too, because before I get too deep into the welcome screen here, I just want to go in here and just kind of do a sudo dnf clean all, because we just want to kind of do an update. And this is also what you'd want to type if you're like upgrading, and then we want to do sudo dnf desync, and that'll kind of synchronize everything. And if you do an upgrade, this is kind of what you want to run too, because if I remember right, in OpenMandriva you don't want to upgrade like through Discover or DNF Dragora or something. Although I believe OpenMandriva has something called DNF Drake available. And I believe that's right in here in the welcome area somewhere too. I'll recognize it when I see it, but that would be the GUI app that you would want to use like if you're upgrading your system. But I'm just going to do an update here, and so this is kind of the perfect way to run it. And so I'm going to run this, and this would only take a minute, and it looks like it's almost done. And there we go, we got through it. So that didn't take too long. I did pause the video there just for a second, just kind of speed things up. And then here we have our About tab. So all these different tabs, the most relevant stuff I think are probably under OM Features and Configure. Over here, we got like our system items, and we have like our info center. So if we look at our info, you can see that we're running KDE 5.25.3, so the latest. So it looks like our update went really well, and 5.18.12 is our kernel, and I think that actually upgraded during that update, so if I do a restart, it'll probably actually be 5.13, I think. So here it's showing our kernel settings, our Plasma version, Office. These are just like quick links here, or actually quick references to kind of show you what all is in here, kind of like a table of contents, I guess, and our welcome screen. And then if we slide up to our OM features here and click on that tab, this is where a lot of the good stuff is. So here we have our repo picker, and this is really cool. You click on that, and then you can select your repos. By default, I think it's probably using the cooker repos. And then here we got our, and so here it is. And we also have rolling rock and release to choose from. However, I'm just going to leave it on cooker because that's kind of the most latest stuff. And then here you can check other things like unsupported, restricted, non-free. And heck, for me, if I was installing this on my own computer, I would just check all three of those. And then also third-party repositories are also available here for installing more specialized proprietary stuff like the Brave browser and Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge, Skype, and things like that. So yes, I mean, those are options that you can specifically add in here as well if you're a fan of some of these proprietary softwares. So it's really nice they give you the options. And then this is cool. I like this. This is, wow, OpenMandriva, Plasma. These are different themes that you can kind of theme out your system with. So you can get right now we're in an OpenMandriva type look here, and that's why you have the double rows in the panel down below there. And Plasma would kind of change your application menu and your panel a little bit. So if we hit apply here, then it should just kind of switch out our theme, and it looks like it is already. I'm liking this. And so here it's asking that, saying that some of these items might not take effect until logging back in. So I'm just going to let it log out here, and I'll go back in, and then we'll kind of see what the change looked like. So I'm going to log in, and here it's kind of popping up, and this should look a little different, I think. There's our welcome screen. I'll just drag that in the middle, and yes, now we got a single panel here. Nice. And then if we look at our menu, it's kind of the default alternative there, or menu that you kind of see in most KDE distros. So looking good. I like that. Let's see what else we can choose from. So if I open this back up again, here we got an Ubuntu. Nice. Windows 10, macOS. That's really cool that you can change your look so easy. I'm trying the Windows 10 now. I just want to see what it looks like. And so I'm going to give it authorization there. And then it's probably going to ask me the same thing. So I'm just going to pause and let that do it to speed things up. So I'll just hit yes again. And now we're logging back in, and now we should have the Windows look. So just kind of go back to where I was. And now if I open up my Dolphin file browser here, we should have Windows-like icons, and they are. So yes, very Windows-like. And then we open up our application launcher, and we got kind of a Windows 10 style launcher. And they're in alphabetical, but you can also sort it by categories right there. And then these are our shortcuts or favorites. So like you can also click on these categories and just kind of change your menu that way too, and it'll kind of back you out and in to certain categories. And there's an FTP program there, a console-based. Cool. So let's try another one. How about the Mac OS? So if you're coming over from Mac and you like the Mac look, then you can do the same thing. We just hit OK and log out and back in again. And again, I'll pause just to speed things up. And now I'm back in, and here we have our Mac panel down here, very Mac-like, and an analog clock, very cool. And you can even add widgets in. So if you want to put something else down in there, you can do that easily just by opening the widget thingy there and adding them to it. Very cool. And then here's our application menu up here. And we also have the universal menu, just like you would see on a Mac. So if I was going to open something like, well, maybe not that because it doesn't really go anywhere. But maybe this would be our file browser. And there we go. So as you can see, it's got the Mac-like buttons, and here's our universal menu up here. So you can see that's all there, and this corresponds to the Dolphin file browser here. So nice to see that, very Mac-like. So if you're a Mac user, that should be very comfortable, and you even have your window buttons over there that have the Mac-like style and probably kind of Mojave-like, I guess. Not sure. And then we have Ubuntu. So if you like an Ubuntu style and maybe you came over from Ubuntu, we could just simply choose that and it should do the same thing. It should look like Ubuntu after logging in. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, we're logged back in and now we got the Ubuntu look. Wow. This is cool. So my screen is maximized now, so it's probably kind of tiling there in a way. So here's our Ubuntu menu over on the side. We got our panel, rather. And so there's our look. And again, it's maximized up and has the traditional theming that you kind of expect in Ubuntu. So I kind of feel like I am in Ubuntu. Very nice layout. So this is really very versatile. I am liking this a lot. Really cool. And then here's our Falcon web browser. So yes, they're kind of giving you Falcon as the default. And then if you want to, of course, add Firefox or Chromium, that couldn't be easier. And that's probably what I would do personally. I would probably go with something like Firefox, my personal favorite. Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking that probably covered all the different themes. I really like this theme switcher though. It's really cool. And yeah, I forgot to show you the launcher here. So when we go in the launcher, it's full screen, kind of just like in the Ubuntu. And I really like the full screen look here. That is one of the alternative launchers in KDE I think I like the best probably. And then here's our widget side to give you quick access to widgets right from the launcher. I like that too, that it's got that dual capability right there. So really cool. I'm just going to click on this again, and you got to click right on the blue link part there to get it to open. Then we got Windows 7 here, and of course that's probably just like Windows 10. And I just checked to use the dark version if applicable. So I'm going to switch back to the default OpenMandriva and see if it kind of goes into the dark theme. I don't know if it will or not, but I checked that box just to see what it does. And so again, I'm going to log out and back in, and then we should be back to our default Mandriva. And we're back in, and here we are. So yes, our default OpenMandriva. So that kind of covers the desktop stuff. And then over here, we got update configuration and our control center, and then a bug report tool. And the control center, that I think is really pretty relevant too. If you click on that, and these are our update config UI. So the download updates automatically and install manually is probably what I would just stay with. So I'm going to stick with the default. And so I had to authorize that just to stick with it too, which is all right. And then here's our OpenMandriva Control Center. So if we jump in here, then we got access to a lot of cool stuff. If we go and select software, then this is kind of giving us some options, and here's the DNF Drake, and so I'm going to put that on here, I think, and it's a work in progress, so it's not available yet, which kind of makes sense because if I remember right, OpenMandriva uses the ABF, or the OpenMandriva Automated Build Farm, and that in the current release, which is 4.3, has been disabled for a while now, and that was because the developers had decided to make a lot of really significant changes to the whole package, like from the ground up, I think. So they're just kind of rebuilding the whole thing. And luckily, when OpenMandriva Lx 5.0 is officially released, the ABF should be back in action and working again. And so I think that the DNF Drake is not available right now for exactly the same reason. And so this is, DNF Drake is like the GUI package manager, and it's also, if you're going to use the GUI to upgrade your system, would be the recommended GUI version to use, as opposed to something like DNF Dragora or Discover. So you want to keep that in mind when upgrading too. And then up on here, under our tabs, we got like our display and monitor setting. So these are nice, easy shortcuts to different configuration settings, which is nice. And then same with network and system. And these are, again, like shortcuts into your KDE configuration, mostly. And then here we got our desktop settings and our desktop themes and icons and so forth. Again, shortcuts into your settings, and you can even install like the GNOME desktop. Nice, and Cutefish and things like that. So you can add some alternative desktops as well. And the Maui shell. Very cool that they give you so much configurability and make it easy to access a lot of these extra features. So yeah, very good. I like that. And then some security software. And then our about, which will kind of give us a quick about there. And then under configure the network, display settings, printer, and all that. So again, more shortcuts. And then our applications. These are recommended applications here, the latest and greatest. So we have GIMP and Inkscape, and that would be the newest Inkscape 2, the 1.2. So some nice recommended softwares that you can just easily grab after your initial install. Here we can add in our Chrome and Firefox and other internet-related stuff, and then our multimedia apps, which is cool. And I'm not really sure what's installed by default right at the moment, but here we have access to OBS Studio and so forth. And I'm just gonna log in here, authenticate, and I just hit the install codecs there. I forgot to mention that, but in the upper right there, in the upper left there, we got our codecs, and I clicked on that. And so I'm installing that because I think I would want to have the codecs installed. That's a good thing to click on, I think, first. And then here under development, we got different development softwares that you can add in there. And wow, there's GAMBAS IDE. That's kind of cool. That's something that you can write in a basic language, and a kind of a fun thing to play with, actually, and really well designed too. And then here we got different utilities like VirtualBox and Wine and so forth. So nice to have easy access to that, and FileZilla too. And then here we got educational and kid stuff. So if you have any kids and you want to add some kid things in here, this is the place to do it. And then of course, finally, lastly, but not totally leastly, are the games. So, oh, and there's Flight Gear. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's an open source flight simulator. And it's actually a really good flight sim. I like it. You even got to go through the startup procedures and stuff on different planes that are pretty realistic. And there's Zero AD, Mahjong, and Lutris. And so some things that enhance your gaming experience here. All very nice. And then for contributing, if you want to be a contributor and you're interested in contributing to the project, there's some links there under there. And so that is our welcome area, and a very nice welcome app for sure. That's one of the best I've seen. And then here's our categories, and by default we got like Digicam, Krita, LibreOffice Draw, and Ocular. So kind of the usual stuff that you would see under a KDE Plasma, and they give you room to install your own stuff, which is nice. And of course Falcon for your internet stuff, and KTorrent for torrents. And then we got under multimedia, we have Kdenlive video editor. Nice, I like to see that installed by default. Very cool. And K-Wave sound editor, simple screen recorder, which is great, VLC and SM player, very nice. And here's a K-Wave. This is kind of cool. This is kind of like a simple alternative to Audacity, I guess. So this is like a voice recorder, or you can edit sound files in here. So I could like start a new one, or I could actually record something. And it looks like it's got like effects and stuff. I don't know if it has as many as Audacity. I would assume not, but we could always do a test sound file, I guess. Like if I hit the record here, and then I guess I would press one of these buttons maybe. Let's see, that's a new file. So probably over here and hit this record. Yeah, there we go. And so now it's recording something, but I don't have the mic activated in here. So it's just going to be a blank flat line. But that's okay. That kind of enables the other stuff up here. So like if I went up under effects, I could click this, and so here's what we got to choose from, like normalize, fading in and out, fade to intro, low pass filters, notch, band pass, and pitch shift. And you can also reverse the audio. So yeah, some very basic things you can do in there, but it's nice to see this in here as a default editor. You don't see editors in here a lot by default in a lot of distros, so I'm liking that. That's very cool. So good job on adding K-Wave. Nice. So we'll just close that out and onward and upward. So then under here, under multimedia, or Office rather, we have our LibreOffice and our Kmail and all the good stuff to go with that. And under more applications, we have more applications. And then we have our settings and system. So again, more of the typical KDE stuff. So they do give you a lot of room to kind of install your own stuff. It's not bloated at all. Really, most of the things that I see here are kind of your standard KDE defaults when you set up a KDE Plasma system, with a few extras peppered in, of course. But I like the fact that they didn't overdo it. They got the Office suite installed, but not too much stuff. Now I'm opening up Discover. Discover is our package manager, and I just want to see how Discover is working here. And it's, of course, doing its update because it's being run for the first time. And so when it's run for the first time, it always takes a little bit to get going because it's got to update the metadata and other things in here and the software list and so forth. So here's Discover, and it looks like it's working good right off the bat. And we got our featured apps here, and then all our different graphics. Like if we go under our different categories, if we go under graphics, we have Dolphin and Events, Eye of Gnome, Eye of Mate, Genie, there's GIMP. I might as well add GIMP in here since I'm at it. And that should install the latest version of GIMP. And there's Inkscape. And let's just see if that's the newest. So yes, 1.24. So glad to see that. So like I thought, we really are kind of getting access to the latest software, and I really like that. And of course, on a lot of RPM distros, that's one thing I do like is you do get really a lot newer software than you would typically find on a Debian, Stable, or something like that. Now let's jump into our settings and kind of see what we can do in here. So here, when you jump into settings, it starts right off, and I'm just going to close Discover there. And it starts off in our appearance settings. And before I tweak those, I'm going to use my K-runner here, which is Alt spacebar. And then I'm just going to type in Dolphin and just launch our file manager here real quick. And then that way we can kind of see our changes a lot quicker. And it looks like I still have my orange icons from the Ubuntu setting. So I think when I switched back to Mandrake, it didn't go 100% back to its default. That's interesting, but let's just hit the dark here and apply it. And now it changed the icons, but it didn't actually apply the dark theme correctly in the Dolphin. And I think that might be related to when I was switching all the themes around and then switched back, and I probably checked that use dark theme if available. And I probably shouldn't have checked that box. I should have just left it alone because I think I kind of messed that part up a little bit. And if I go back to light, then it should kind of look normal again. Apply it. Yeah, so it's just the dark. And if I try to go back to dark, yep, same thing here. Well, let's click on appearance real quick. And Breeze Dark looks like the default. Let me hit the Mandriva. And maybe that's all I have to do is just kind of go back to the Mandriva theme. And then I'll just kind of hit that. And then I'm kind of defaulted again. So I'm just going to hit apply and apply that. And that went to Mojave. And so the Mojave theme looks a little better there. That's kind of working for the dark. And I'm just going to click on the home here and go back to this. And yeah, it's still hard to see the buttons though. So it's still kind of off. Just going to apply that back to light theme. So yeah, a little funky. I guess maybe if I went into appearance and still my menus are kind of blending in, and I could actually fix that quickly, I think, just by jumping up and let me open my welcome app again. Oh, it was right there on the desktop. I guess I didn't have to search for it. And I think what I'm going to do, this will probably be a quicker fix. Just jump in here and go back into our desktop presets, and I'm going to reselect OpenMandriva again, but this time I'm not going to have that use dark version if preset is available. I'm going to leave that unchecked. So I'm going to hit that. Here I am, I'm logged back in. Let's hit apply and see how the dark theme works. Yeah, there we go, that worked. So that's what it was. It was just the fact that I went there and I tried to change back to Mandriva with the dark theme checked. So don't check that box if you're going back to Mandriva, at least not right now. Of course, we are in a technical preview, so can't expect it to be perfect. And then this is another thing I think is really cool. So these are our color accents here. And one of the new things in Plasma 5.25 is they've added a feature where you can choose your color theme or your accents from your current wallpaper. So whatever you have in your wallpaper background, it'll take some colors from your wallpaper and then it'll apply that to your overall accents, which is really an awesome feature and quite unique to Plasma, I think. So that's right here. And so if we check this little radio button there, then it'll allow us, and right now it's choosing these gold. And so those gold colors are probably from the flower. And if I apply it, now we got gold accents over here on our menu, which is really cool. And down there in our panel, I'm loving it. I'm going to open up our file browser and that is still orange. So, I would think those icons should change too. So let me change the wallpaper. I probably got to change the paper first to kind of really make it start working. So let me just choose something like maybe that, see what happens, and apply it. There we go. So now it's changed them to brown there. And then we have kind of a brown accent, which is matching the wallpaper. I like that. And I'm going to change my application style to make the buttons look better because the fonts are still not kind of working there. So I'm going to hit that and just change it to our Breeze style. And that's a lot better. Now our buttons, you can see the text on them and so forth. So that'll fix that. So let's go back in our wallpaper and let's try some other themes. So let's hit apply and see if it matches, and it does beautifully. So now we got this nice kind of a off sky blue or something. Beautiful on our accents. And then again, here's another scene, and that gave us kind of a grayish. How about this one, the Flower of Freedom? Wow, that's a beautiful shade of blue there. Really like that. That might be a keeper. Then there's our Mojave theme. So a lot of nice wallpapers to choose from too here, which I think is nice in itself. And then of course there's our default again. And let's see if it changes. Yep, it's using the same color. And this time it changed the icons no problem to that goldish color. And then there's another one, the Mojave Light, which gave us a nice sea green or turquoise kind of color there. A surf green maybe you'd call that. But the Flavor of Freedom, I'm liking that one the best. I love that color scheme there. The accents look really great. Those are nice icons, and the accenting is just right. And then, of course, if you want to just choose from color presets, you can do it here, or you can go with the color picker and just choose any color you can imagine, pretty much. So there you go. And then if you want to go back to your wallpaper theme, of course, you would just hit the middle button. But nice colors there that you can choose preset as well. And that worked. I just hit that and we just went right back to the theme. So that is nice. And then here in our Plasma style, we can also change the style of like our panel down here. So if we want to make that darker, I could like select Oxygen or this Windows 10 Plasma theme and kind of give it a darker look. And so when we hit that, then it's more black. And then the same with our menu. Of course, our menu has a little bit of transparency there. So that really kind of looks nice with a lighter background and a black theme. I like that a lot better. And then here's our window decorations. So this is where you can kind of tweak your window decorations up there on the top bar of your window. So if you want to change your buttons and things like that, then you can do that right here. So maybe you like this theme, but you want to have something different as far as your window buttons go and so forth. So maybe you want a Mac look. So you could hit apply, and wow, that's a transparent kind of Mojave 2.0. Okay. So if you want a more traditional Mojave, then you could maybe have a Mac buttons up there with a different theme. And I'm just going to go back to the Breeze. And then here's where you can change your icons. So if you want different default icons, you can do that. Maybe you like the Windows 10 icons, but you have like a Mac look overall. So you can change your icons, and they're not refreshing right away, and that's probably just my system, my low-end graphics card probably. So yes, but I'm going to just jump back to Breeze, I think, there with the default, which I kind of like. And then again, I just kind of I think I'm just going to close that. Maybe minimized. Yeah, minimized it. Quite work. Yeah, I guess I just got to close it all together. So I'll just do that and then open it back up again. Just kind of select it from our favorites here. And there we go. So we're kind of back to normal there. And I'm not really sure if that's just the current state of the distro or if it's just me. It's probably just me, my equipment, and so forth. So again, with OBS Studio and everything running in the background, I'm probably using a lot of resources, and that's taxing the GPU a little bit. And so again, we got our workspace behavior. Here's desktop effects. So if you want to choose some cool KDE effects, they're down in here. This is where you would find them. So we got our favorites in here, like the wobbly windows and the magic lamp. And so the magic lamp kind of makes your thing kind of suck down into the panel like that. And when you restore it, it'll kind of just like something coming out of a magic lamp. Pretty cool. And then we got our wobbly windows, kind of one of my favorites. And so when you do that, it'll kind of wobble, and that's a little stiff. Must be the settings are kind of set in a stiff way. So I'm going to, whoops, wrong one. I'm going to hit the little control panel there. And yeah, wobbliness is all the way down. So let's kind of stick that in the middle there. and hit OK. And then I think that'll wobble a little better. Yeah, that's more like what I'm used to. I think that's where it defaults on most distros. So that looks good. Got some wobbliness going on there. Cool. So I'll go with that. We'll keep the old wobble windows. And then, of course, our other standard things, our multimedia settings, audio, input devices. These are all things I've gone over in many things. On our keyboard settings, I like to turn on the num lock. That's off by default. So I'm going to turn that on, and then and apply that. And then under our mouse settings here, where you can set it for your left-hand settings if you're a lefty, and you can invert your scroll direction if you like it to scroll the opposite way. And yeah, all pretty standard. If we go to About here, then again we can see our system information and see that we're running Plasma 5.25 and all that, which we've already looked at. And there's our wobbliness. And then again, we have our default icons up here, so you can join or donate and contribute to the project, which is really a worthy cause. And then we got our show alternatives. So if you want to change your menu, you can change it here. This is where we saw our different styles before, like the full screen dashboard and the standard KDE app launcher and so forth. So if you ever want to change the look, this is where you would do it. Simply right click and then select it, and then it'll change your launcher. And then when you click on it, now I got the full screen one here. And so if you like that look better, which I do, on my own system, I would probably just do this. I kind of really like that style, but that's just me. Everybody's different. And I noticed there's no icon down there. That kind of disappeared when I changed it. So I'm going to right click and select Configure Application Dashboard. And when I select that, then here's where we can change our icon. So I'm just going to click choose, and then I'm going to type in like start, I think is the word. Yeah, there we go. So here's our start KDE icon, our default. So I'm going to hit apply, and now we got our icon back. Nice. Looks good. So let's just hit OK there. So looking good. And then here down in our panel settings, we can add widgets here, and we got our enter edit mode. I'm going to add widget, and I'm going to look at our widget thing, and got a lot of yellow in here. I think that was in my theming, something I was messing with. But if we go down here, I'm going to do a weather app. I always like the weather apps. And I'm just going to drag that right into the panel right there. Excellent. So now we have this, and we can right click and select configure, and then this will open up our configure panel here, and we got our appearance, or not our appearance, our settings, where we can enter a location for our weather. How about London? And there we got some hits, and so we could go with possibly the railway station. Wow, lots of choices. Fascinating. Okay, I guess the first choice there looks good. Then again, we got London Bridge. I used to live under London Bridge when I was a bum. There we go. And so here under appearance, I think I'm going to have the temperature show up there beside the icon too. That would be kind of cool. I don't know if that's going to actually work or not. Seems like a while back that wasn't working in Plasma, but that was a while ago. So maybe it works now. Let's hit OK, and nothing. Okay, maybe under London Bridge isn't a good choice. So going to go back in here again. Let's go with just the first one there, coming from the German Weather Service. Probably Das Wetter. Be a little more specific. So there we go. We'll just go with London, hit apply. Okay, nothing. Okay, let's try something stateside. I'll hit configure again, hit choose, and let's try Tampa, Florida. See if that works. We'll hit apply. There we go. Whoa, 33. That's pretty hot. I guess that's pretty normal for this time of year, though. After all, it is July. In Fahrenheit, that would be around 90, probably, give or take. More like give, but hit apply. 91. Yeah, it was close. So there we go. There's our weather app. And the temperature did show up right next to the icon. That's great. I'm glad to see that. Because I remember a couple months ago, I was messing with that in Plasma, and for some reason the temperature just didn't show up next to the icon when you check that box, but now it does. So that's great. Of course, it could have been a distro thing too, or something else. But there's our forecast, and you can see the 5-day forecast right there, it looks like. More like 6 days, 7 days. Nice. So beautiful. I like the weather app there, and I gotta tell you, this is looking really great. What else can we do? I know. I'm going to open up the console. So I'm just going to bring up my file browser, and then I'm going to go into the console here, just for aesthetics. But in the console, I'm going to just make this bigger real quick, magnify it a bit, and then just look at our kernel. So we got 5.18.12, the latest kernel in there. We're on HTOP, and it's running at 1.03 gigs of RAM. So that's actually a little bit higher than it was. I actually looked at this idle before I ran anything off camera, and it was around 850. So I'm going to kind of go with the 850 there. And on our NeoFETs, we got 5.18 kernel and stuff we've already seen before, but nice looking NeoFETs. I like the way they did the logo and everything there. So beautiful. And so everything was just set up perfect there. And with that, man, I am really impressed with this. And the stability is really impressive too. For something that's in a testing mode, or the technical preview, I guess you'd call it, it really is surprisingly stable. Just the little funkiness with the theming, coming off when we were changing the desktop themes in the welcome window there, those desktop presets, I guess is what they called it. And so changing those and then going back to Mandriva default theme in the dark mode, that's the only thing that kind of, I think, probably screwed things up a little bit. And then I had to change the buttons a little to kind of get them to all work again together. But the theming thing, that's a minor cosmetic issue there. And I'm sure that's going to be worked out anytime now, and probably the next couple updates, or certainly by the time it's released. So if that's the biggest bug that they got, then I consider that amazing. This is something that I could feel safe on just installing it on something like a laptop or whatever, another desktop, and just using it as a daily somewhere. And I think I would feel quite safe in that, me personally anyway. Now, if I was going to install it for the sweet grandma next door, or somebody that's not computer literate in any way, shape, or form, I'd probably stick with the stable. Otherwise, you might get a call at 2:30 in the morning, and that's never fun. However, for me, or anybody that's not afraid to tinker a little bit on their system, I would definitely use this right now, just for fun. Of course, I'm one of those right now kind of people. When something comes out and it's kind of cutting edge, even just before it's ready for prime time, if it's stable enough, heck yeah, I'll play with it. I'll run it. Why not? I'm really liking this OpenMandriva Lx 5. This is something that's really great upgrade, and given that it's running the latest Plasma right now, the 5.25, I really like that as well, because you got all the goodies that go with it. And the whole wallpaper, matching the color accents with the wallpaper thing, that's one of my favorite new additions to the Plasma, personally. I know there's other little things, but that one is kind of my personal favorite. I really like that. I guess it's because it's something I can just visually see, and I'm kind of a visual person anyway. So there you go. There's a sneak peek. And if you really want to get the real experience, the full experience, especially on your own hardware, then I recommend downloading it and sticking it on something and giving it a try. Or try it out in a virtual machine first. But if you have something extra laying around that you can stick that on and you just want to experience it, put it on there and see what it's like. So now you got a little sneak peek into it, and I hope this sneak peek was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.